On today's late night show, the Dallas Mavericks make a trade and they get back into the draft. They take Jaden Hardy. Is that a good swing for the Dallas Mavericks? A big swing for the Mavs that they take. Plus, the Christian Wood trade is official. What did Nico Harrison say about it? Isaac was one of the few, the proud that were there. We'll talk all about that on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
Hey, Dallas Mavericks are NBA champions. Bang! Bang! It's good! And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for making Locked On Mavs your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. But the best way you can help us grow the show is to comment anything below. Let us know. What do you think about the Jaden Hardy move? What do you think about him? What do you think his ceiling is? What do you expect him to be? Let us know all your thoughts in there. We'll be talking about him today. And joining me, as always, my co-host, writer, and contributor at Mavs.com. The Hardy Party, the One More Thing King. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
It was a fun little draft moment that, we were speculating on if the Mavs could move back into this draft.
It's all we wanted. It's all we wanted. Just make a move. Do something.
And they did. And it turned out to be a lot of fun. Draft night's fun. And then it turned into a really long night for me. I was literally in my car about to leave, and I was like, you know what? Nico's about to talk. Let me just go back in and chat with Nico.
The classic journalist, let me just go back in one more time.
3 hours later, it's me and Eddie and Dwayne and McMahon and Brad and Skylar all looking at each other.
The mainstays.
And here comes Nico walking out with a tray of chocolate-covered strawberries. Nico Harrison, the GM of the Mavs, comes out with this tray of strawberries and is like,
they were in the shape of Nike shoes too, which is wild.
That was not true. But he's like just serving the media. He's like, hey, I just want to show this, appreciation, you guys. Sorry it's taking so long. Everything. And I was like, honestly, it was a really cool moment. Like, you don't see GMs do that.
You've never been fed a chocolate-covered strawberry by a GM of an NBA team before?
I might put that in my bio. Fed a chocolate-covered strawberry from Nico Harrison.
Incredible. Well, we will talk all about the Jaden Hardy move. We obviously did a profile of him, so go check that out. We will now talk about him with the idea of the Mavericks actually getting him in a trade. So we'll talk all about that. We'll also talk about the Christian Wood trade because it's official. The Christian Wood trade is now official. That's one of the reasons why it was so late. We're actually recording this at 3 a.m. Texas time right now. Isaac's kids are about to wake up in like an hour or something like that.
Don't say that, Nick. Why are we saying that? Yeah, I shot out a tweet saying that, we got an early morning Wood announcement from
no, it's not.
from the Mavs as the trade is now official. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Okay, I'm glad you did.
Thank you.
We'll talk about the Christian Wood trade. Nico Harrison made two really interesting comments that I want to talk about Christian Wood and what our expectations about Christian Wood should be. And then we'll get into what the Knicks did. The Knicks did some stuff, and they're going after Jalen Brunson. Nico Harrison commented on that as well, and we'll talk about that later in the show. But let's start with Jaden Hardy. So the Mavericks make the trade. They acquired the 37th pick from the Sacramento Kings. Gotta love a draft day trade with the Sacramento Kings for a 2024 and a 2028 second-round pick. So 2 second-round picks go to Jaden Hardy, or go to the Sacramento Kings, and the Mavericks take Jaden Hardy. It was a guy that I think a lot of people had in the teens or in the 20s. He was there in the draft room. He was the last guy in the draft room to actually be taken and to step up. A lot of us were talking, including Richard Stamen, talking about Walker Kessler. Could he be the last guy? Who's going to be the last guy that's still in the green room? And it ended up being Jaden Hardy.
Tim McMahon tweeted out that source told him that the Mavs had Jaden Hardy at 19th on their draft board. When you look across other mock drafts and other draft boards, going into the draft, the Ringer, KOC had him at 17, just 2 off the top. Sam Vecini had him at 20.
Raphael had him at 22. ESPN mocked him at 22 at one point. The Athletic had him at 23 in a mock at one point too.
So a really similar situation. I know this is, a different regime, as far as front office, but really similar to Jalen Brunson's situation of how Dallas had him in this, late teens, early 20s range of their draft board. And then he falls to 33 and they're like, obviously they had their pick. So they use it on, and Brunson's like, no way. It feels like a similar situation in this of Jaden Hardy, a guy who was a number 2 overall recruit going into the Ignite season, falls to 37, which is crazy. I tweeted it out like 5 minutes before they took Hardy.
Yeah, you did.
About just throwing it out there to everybody that whoever would swing on Hardy, it would be a good swing at that point. But no, it's all about capitalizing on the moment and on these situations. And I almost view it the Christian Wood trade and now this Jaden Hardy trade, or it is a trade. Yeah, it's kind of a similar thing of Nico looking at a situation and saying, you know what, Christian Wood might not be the perfect center, even though we'll talk about his quotes and everything. Jaden Hardy might not be the perfect guy for the Mavs, like as far as roles and stuff. But you know what they are is incredible value. To get Christian Wood for that deal is incredible value. To give up 2 dumb future second round picks to move into this second, to get Jaden Hardy and take the swing at that talent at 37, that's a value you can't pass up. And Nico is capitalizing on these moments right now.
And that's the thing. We were down on Jaden Hardy as a player in our profile. We were pretty negative about him.
At 26, yeah.
At 26 and thinking about taking him in a first round and thinking about taking him, with a first round pick and all that. Like we were down on him as a prospect, but it's all about asset management in this case. Yeah. And so when he goes so low, you're not expecting so much from him. You're not bringing him in expecting, okay, well, this guy's got to work out because we used this pick and we didn't trade it for a Christian Wood that we know can come in and be this. This guy's got to work out for us. It's like Josh Green, right? Josh Green, the Mavs make that pick, and all of a sudden, now it's like 3 years we've been talking about, okay, well, what can Josh Green be in a rotation, right? And there's just so much pressure on that pick to be something. And now, if it's at 37, remember Tyler Bay? Tyler Bay was the 37th pick, right? Or 36 or something like that. I mean, there was not a ton of expectations on him to come in and to be a certain thing. And so now with Jaden Hardy, a guy that, like you said, was the number 1 player on a lot of people's boards, like over Chet, over Jabari, like a year ago, like just 12 months ago. Guy goes and plays 24 games in the G League between a showcase and an exhibition, and he falls all the way to now 37. It's kind of wild to see how he fell. And the conversation that'll happen a lot is, what if he didn't play in the G League? What if Jaden Hardy didn't play in the G League? Shaedon Sharpe didn't end up playing with G League Ignite or with a college or anything. He sat out for a year and he gets taken in the top 10. And Jaden Hardy played 24 games in the G League, led the team in scoring, scored almost 20 points a game, but didn't shoot the ball well. And all of a sudden he's down in 37 and taking 37 for the Mavericks. And it's pretty wild to see how much he fell there.
If he didn't play a single game like Shaedon Sharpe did in college or for the Ignite, he would have been a lottery pick, maybe even top 10 pick in this draft.
Right.
I say that with confidence because you look at, like you said, I looked at this ESPN mock in 2021, March 2021. Okay. That's not, 13 months ago, 14 months ago. He was the number 3 projected overall pick in that mock draft. This guy was number 2 overall in his class behind Chet going into that season. Like we said, he averaged over 30 points a game in high school. And I was reading this, ESPN piece from back then. And like, he is the best scoring guard in high school basketball. And it's like, if he didn't play any of in an Ignite season, then yeah, we're looking at a lottery pick right now. But he goes there, he struggles, he's inefficient at times. There's a lot of things we talked about in draft profile. He's looking to get a shot and all of that. But even Nico tonight was talking about how he views it as a positive that he struggled early, but then he corrected a lot. And if you do look at his last 8 games, you do see a shift in that. You see a shift in his efficiency. He puts up 31 points in one of those games. It feels like it almost clicks a little bit more for him there at the end of that Ignite season.
Yeah, it took a little while for him. And so maybe it'll take a little while in the NBA. So let's talk about Jaden Hardy. Let's redo our draft profile on him. We'll tell you a little bit about what he's going to bring to the Mavericks, what we expect from him, what his role is going to be, the roster fit, the rotation, all that kind of stuff. We'll talk about that on Jaden Hardy coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about NBA Jam. NBA Jam is back. Arcade 1UP, the leader in at-home retro gaming, gives you the ability to bring the NBA Jam huge arcade machine console right to your house. The thing that you would see in an arcade, you can bring that home to your house, and it's not going to cost you thousands and thousands of dollars. You can get it starting at just $400. They have these machines, Golden Tee, Mortal Kombat, all that. NBA Jam Shaq Edition. You can get one of those, and we're giving those away We're giving one of those away right now. Go to arcade1up.com/lockedon. That's arcade, the number 1up.com/lockedon. Go to that, put in your email, fill out all the stuff, and they will put you in a drawing to win an Arcade 1UP, the NBA Jam Shaq Edition. You could have that delivered to your house, or you could just buy one with an early September ship date. Go check it out, arcade, the number 1up.com. Check out the NBA Jam and all that they have to offer at Arcade 1UP. All right, Isaac Harris, Jaden Hardy, party for Hardy. Would you like to party with Hardy? There is, it's an interesting thing to look back at some of our profiles about these players and now in the context of them being Mavericks. But let's do the whole thing again. Jaden Hardy, he's 6'4", he's 190 pounds. He's got a 6'9" wingspan. He did an interview with Mike Schmitz back in 2011 where he said his wingspan was near 7 foot. So I'm going to guess it's between 7 feet and 6'9" now.
Nico specifically referenced his wingspan tonight, saying he has a long wingspan. So I think it's
a positive. He's not a square. It's not a negative wingspan. So it's a positive in that direction for sure. He's 20 years old at the time of the draft. He played for the G League Ignite last year, like we said. And the one sentence on him is easy. He's a pure bucket getter who needs to improve efficiency and playmaking. He gets buckets. That's his whole thing. He's a pretty smooth ball handler. He's got a deep bag. Like, he has the herky-jerky stuff. He has, the shots where he can hit off of step backs. He has a bunch of stuff in his bag. He's an isolation scorer. That's the center of his game. Like you said, he was one of the best scorers in high school before he came out. Even one of the best scorers in the G League. I mean, 20 points per game for that Ignite team of the best players in the country that come and play for that team. He just wasn't efficient at any of that stuff, really, until later in the season. Defensively, he struggles. KOC from the Ringer said he battles and fights through screens and things like that. He had an interview with Malika Andrews at one point. I think it was in March of 2022 on NBA Today, where he's like, I pride myself on my defense. And you're like, okay, well, a player that says that right before the draft time is really trying to promote that they like defense and that they're better at it than they really are. Weaknesses for him. He does lack a quick first step. Richard Stayman from Mavs draft, that's one thing that he had him really low on his board because he doesn't really believe in his first step and that he can get by guys and that he struggled at the rim, which is a real problem for him. The efficiency wasn't just jump shots. It was he struggled to finish. He struggled at the rim and struggled efficiency all over the court, basically. And so we mentioned his availability before, and he was supposed to be a lot higher than 37, but he falls to the Mavericks now. And so now, all that being said, what do you expect for it? What do you expect from him? What do you think he brings to the Mavericks?
Well, couple things. I don't think he's going to have some massive, role on the team next year. I think, I thought something was telling whenever Nico said, he was asked about Hardy and he's like, hey, he's a young kid who can score the ball. He's still raw. It will take a while. Yep. He can really score the ball at a high level. He is a straight bucket. Like, he can get buckets at all levels, really. You look at some of his percentages and it can be a little misleading because he did take a lot of bad shots. There was a lot of it to where, it was like, hey, pass the ball to Hardy and say, hey, bail us out. And he did. He made bad decisions a lot of times with the ball. But look at some of his catch and shoot stuff. 40% catch and shoot. Mm-hmm. He's literally one of the best shooters in the draft. I think so. And you look at unguarded catch and shoot shots, 54% last year for the G League. So the problem is he doesn't get a ton of them because he was handling the ball so much. So what would a Jaden Hardy look like coming off the ball, playing off the ball some, catching more catch and shoot stuff to where it's not all off the dribble and it's not all this ISO he loves running pick and roll. He has this interview with Chris Haynes back a while ago. And, he's very confident in his game and how good he is in this draft class. Everything you want to hear, but he's very confident in him running the pick and roll. And there's some clips and stuff to show that, but offensively, that's obviously his bread and butter. It's the defense part. And so, like, what is his role moving forward? Like, what's the comp stuff? We were talking about this on the Mavs, live stream with Coop. And I threw that out there to Coop. I said, because he was saying a lot of the weaknesses about him too. And I was like, but here's the thing. Could we see him in a Jordan Poole type of role? Like, Jordan Poole is a bucket. He's not great at defense, but like, look at the role he has with the Warriors. Now, the Warriors have all this, structure and everything with that great defensive team and all of that. But there's a role for guys like this, the Jordan Clarksons, the Jordan Pooles of the world. I'm just saying, if he doesn't develop anything else, if he doesn't develop his defense, he doesn't really develop the playmaking, all of that, he's just a pure bucket. There's still a role just for that in the league in Jordan Poole, Jordan Clarksons of the world. So I think that's like, that's the route that they could shape him, not next season, but a couple years from now. Could he be that?
Yeah, his role in the Mavericks right now, to build on that, is I think he plays for the Legends for a little bit. I think he starts with the Legends. I think he plays he probably like destroys down in the G League because he just played there, and I think
Summer League. This dude has the potential to be one of the stories of Summer League, that he could go there and say, I'm about to set this place on fire.
I don't belong here in a good way.
And literally like he could be somebody that everybody's talking about and like, wow, how did Dallas get him at 37 type thing? He's gonna drop 30 in one of these Summer League games, and all the headlines are gonna be like, how in the world did he fall to 37?
And so he all of a sudden can be one of the biggest steals of the draft because there's not as much expectation on him. There's not much from us to say, well, if he doesn't work out, that's a big mistake for the Mavs. If he doesn't work out, that's fine. They tried. They took a big swing on him, and the big swings are way more fun, right? Like, the swings are way more fun. I'm so excited to see him in Summer League. I'm excited to see him with the Legends. And then I think eventually at a certain point in the year, if it starts working for him and clicking for him and his catch and shoot stuff stays as efficient as it was in the G League and maybe is better, that I think he finds a role in this Mavericks team, especially if they don't get a Dragic, if they don't get another guard. Like, he could be the third guard, like the third point guard off the bench, where maybe they make a Tim trade or something like that, and then he plays a little bit more of a role. And I could see him eventually like working himself into the rotation at a certain point in the year. I just don't think it'll be from day one.
Yeah. So McMahon asked Nico if he would be a two-way guy, and Nico said he doesn't know yet. He's unsure what that's going to look like. But for him, I start to, I want to say, let's talk about this for a second, because I think some people could be listening to saying, hey, I listened to your draft profile on Hardy. Yeah. So now you're just speaking all this glowing up, like, oh my gosh, he could be, this straight bucket, all this stuff. I thought the Mavericks would approach the draft if at 26, or even if they traded in, to find a guy that would fit a need. And for instance, if I was drafting personally, I would have taken EJ Liddell. Mm-hmm. I would have probably taken Kamagate.
Yep.
Because I'm looking at from an angle of saying this team was in the Western Conference Finals. There's a few little holes in the rotation. I'm like, a Kamagate could be another big in that rotation. And EJ Liddell could give them another small ball 5 type of option, another wing, big body wing and stuff. That's how my mind was viewing it. But obviously Nico's looking at completely different and saying, no, we were in the Western Conference Finals, so that gives us the ability to take a big swing and to take a swing on a talent that could be unbelievable in the league. So it kind of gives them some breathing room. And so that's Nico. I'm obviously not Nico, and he takes the big swing in a Jaden Hardy. So that's the route. That's why we're shifting, or at least I'm shifting in this moment. Like, okay, well, I would have went a different direction, but they went this direction, and I completely understand it. So now we're going to lean into all right, let's see if the home run swing is a home run.
And you know what's funny about all that is that who did we take in the ultimate mock draft? We did this whole locked on ultimate mock draft. We traded up for the 21st pick and we took Ousmane Dieng because we wanted to take the big swing, because we were like, hey, we might as well take one more big swing with this pick. that, that maybe could turn into an all-star in a couple years or so. It's exactly what we did in our fake draft, but we didn't think the Mavericks would go that way, and they did. They ended up going that way, and the 37th pick it's so much lower. The contract is so much lower. The responsibility on the team is so much lower than if it's a first-round pick, if it's the guy that you put your asset into. You didn't get Christian Wood in a trade for the first-round pick. You're putting your assets into this, and you're expecting this guy to come in and fill a role and be in the rotation. The Mavs aren't expecting that. The Mavs are fine with him to not play on the roster the entire year, to play with the G Leagues, to maybe be a two-way guy and not be able to play in the playoffs. Like, that's fine for them. And I think that changes the whole mindset of him as a player. Do I still think the same things about him as a player? Yeah. I still think, I look at his comps and I'm like, all right, he's either Bradley Beal or he's Dion Waiters, right? Like, those are the two things that I said in the profile. And I think those are the two things that, like, the two ends that he could end up being.
He loves the Brad Beal comps. He said he watches tape of him. I read this whole thing about, and this is a question I have too, is he going to be willing to not be part of the rotation? Like, this guy was number 1 in high school, a number 2 overall recruit, putting up 30 a game, goes to the G League team. He's getting his shots and getting his buckets all the time, to where, and he's worked out with, he's a clutch client. He's gotten advice from LeBron. He's worked out with James Harden. He's worked out with LaMelo. He's worked out with Trae Young. He's worked out with Damian Lillard. This dude's working out with the superstars of the NBA. And so all of this, he's very confident in his game. He's been the best player. So now he's going to step into this role in NBA, and to where they could legit be like, hey, can you sign a two-way? Can you play up in Frisco some? And hey, you're going to get some.
Where is Frisco?
Yeah, he's like, and they could be like, hey, you're going to get some DMPCDs, but we're going to continue to grow and all that. I'm curious to see that part of him too. And there's no way to answer that right now.
The answer to what's his future with the Mavericks is, how does he respond to tonight? How does he respond to going 37th? How does he respond with being the last player in the draft room? Does he take that as motivation and say, hey, I'm going all out now. I'm going to go and prove everybody wrong and all that? Awesome. Would love that. I'm so rooting for him to take that route and to just prove everybody wrong and be a part of the rotation. And eventually the Mavericks have to make him part of their roster instead of just a two-way this year.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Or it could be hard for him. It could be an adjustment like the G League was for him. And maybe he takes a little while to adjust, and that's fine too.
Look at the guys he's going to have to learn from too. Like, he's going to, you can already see it now. Dinwiddie, Dorian, Tim Hardaway, these guys off these guys off Dwight. The bench that, Dwight, that, he's going to step in. He's going to be the rook. We're going to see all the, all the stuff, him carrying all the coffees and donuts and everything. But, Dinwiddie, especially, of, hey, look at this role that I played last year on this Mavs team. I came in and I got buckets. This is what you need to do in the NBA type of thing. So it's exciting. It's a swing for Dallas. It's an exciting swing. It makes Summer League,
way
watchable,
way more fun.
Yeah, to see what he does in Summer League. But it's a nice swing from Nico Harrison.
Coming up, let's talk about Nico Harrison's comments about the Christian Wood trade. It's official. We'll talk about that. We'll also talk about his comments on the Jalen Brunson situation with the Knicks. All that and more coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about BetOnline. It's the best place to check out the odds and lines and spreads in sports. Eurobasket is coming up soon. We will be covering it on Locked On Mavs. Number 1 to win Eurobasket, Serbia plus 275. France is plus 450, so they're number 2. Greece is plus 500, just a little bit behind France. And then Slovenia plus 600 behind Serbia, France, and Greece. That one is fascinating to me. You can go check that out. Spain is plus 800. Then you have Lithuania plus 1,200. Italy, Turkey, Germany, Croatia, Czech Republic, go all the way down to the bottom. Hungary plus 20,000. Estonia plus 20,000. So you put $100 on Hungary, they win Eurobasket somehow, you'll win $20,000. So hey,
wow,
go check it out. But BetOnline has all that kind of stuff. They have the WNBA, they have MLB, they have fights, they have all kinds of different things. Go check it out. It's BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, Isaac Harris, Nico Harrison, you sat and waited for this man. He gave you strawberries, fed you strawberries out of his hand, and he talked about the Christian Wood trade. It was official. They were waiting on the phone for the league office to make it official. If you don't know how trades work in the NBA, the two sides of the trade, both teams have to agree on the parameters of a deal, and then they have to take those parameters and take it to the league office and say, hey, is this good? Like, can we do this in the league office?
And this one turned into a 3-team. McMahon was telling me it's possible 4-team trade, but So this is why I think there were a lot of wrinkles to it.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different changes to it. But now Christian Wood is a Maverick. The Mavericks actually tweeted out, and it's official and all that. And I thought Nico Harrison's comments about Christian Wood were the most interesting part of this whole thing. The first one from Nico Harrison. Yeah, I mean, Christian, he gives us something that we don't have. He's a good rebounder. He's super athletic. He'll be great with Luka Doncic in the pick and roll. He can play above the rim. He can also shoot. I mean, he's an offensive guy at that position. He's an athletic offensive guy. We're really excited about it. I think him saying he's an offensive guy twice and emphasizing that was very interesting to me. And
it's honest. Like, I love that. Hey, we're not going to sugarcoat this. We're not going to, we're not going to sit here and say, yeah, we got our answer at center. No, he's like, I'm going to tell you, like, we got a Christian Wood guy on offense that we don't have. And he said this multiple times too. He's like, we don't have a guy like him on our roster.
Right.
And emphasizing all these things he can do, shooting and rebounding and all of that. A lot of things that he was talking about at the end of that Warriors series that they needed in getting rebounds and all of that. So I loved his honesty in that. And yeah, I think there is an emphasis. I don't think he's like trying to emphasize that, hey, I'm going to say offense because he sucks at defense, but he's just being honest in his evaluation of him of like, he's a good offensive center.
And not hyping him up to be something he's not, right? And not giving, it's again about expectations. The expectations for Christian Wood are not, we think this guy can be an all-star, right? Maybe he does, maybe Nico Harrison does think that, but he didn't come out and say that and put those expectations on him. Maybe he'll say that in front of his face at his his press conference that they eventually have this summer, but he didn't come out and say that right away. But just that he's an offensive guy, not to bring up he's the answer, rebounder, everything that we wanted. Remember when I said after the season and at exit interviews that we wanted a rim protector? Well, we got that guy right here. He didn't say that. And I thought that was pretty refreshing that he didn't come out and say this guy's bad at defense, but he wasn't like he was the answer that we're looking for. The other comment that I thought was really interesting is he said, Christian Wood is entering a contract year, and he was asked about the long-term fit with the Mavs. And Nico Harrison said, quote, I think we both offer each other a lot. We'll have to do a little bit of showing him. He'll have to do a little bit of showing us. And I just like that idea of, hey, this is, it's a decision that the player has to make, but we also have to make it too. We have to know if he's right for us to make this contract extension. And it's on both sides to try and figure it out over this next, 5-6 month stretch.
This was the quote of the night for me. I thought the honesty in that too, of once again, he wasn't coming into this saying, we got our answer. We got our guy next to Luka for the next few years. Yes. He didn't say immediately right off the bat of, yeah, he's on an expiring contract. We hope to lock him up pretty soon. We want Christian Wood a part of our future for years to come. You didn't hear any of that. It's a low risk, high reward type of move, just like the Jaden Hardy pick of let's bring in Christian Wood. He's great at all the things that he described, but he's going to have to prove to us some things, and we're going to have to prove to him some things. And it's like, it's a wait and see approach, and his honesty in that, I loved it.
Yeah, because Christian Wood has to show them that, when the trade first went down, I said, it's a risk, and there is still risk in it. It's risk because their chemistry was such a big part of their team, and Christian Wood had issues with the Rockets, and I expect that to be fine with Christian Wood, but we don't know that. We don't know what he expects coming in. We don't know if maybe Jason Kidd benches him one game, and all of a sudden it becomes the whole thing that happened with the Rockets, or maybe there's stuff that happens between him and coaches that we don't know about. So that's a risk, and if the Mavericks decide at a certain point, this guy doesn't fit our culture. This guy doesn't fit what we're about. Our whole thing is about being for each other and not having egos. And what did Jalen Brunson say on Duncan Robinson's podcast? It's all about not having egos. That's the reason why we got so far. It's everybody putting that behind you and just what does it take to win? And if Christian Wood in his contract year is not about that, and you can understand it a little bit, then maybe the Mavericks decide not to. But also the Mavericks have to show Christian Wood that this is a place where he can thrive and that he can get what he wants out of his career and out of his life. And I thought that was cool.
And if it doesn't work out, you know what they still have? A guy that they could have picked with the 26th pick in Jaden Hardy.
How about that?
And it's like,
how about that?
I mean, we all love to do the, hey, so they basically a team did, took all of this and got this. In the past week, they took four guys who are not in the rotation,
correct,
the 26th pick and two future second round picks, and turned it into Christian Wood and Jaden Hardy. So great swings by Nico.
And if he hit on both of these, that's incredible, right?
Yeah.
How incredible could it be? Jaden Hardy can make an All-NBA. He can make an All-Star team at a certain point in his career.
Best case
That's
scenario,
what I'm saying.
yes.
If it hits and everything, best case scenario, he can, right? That's why I compared him to Bradley Beal, because he can. He has all that stuff. He has all the tools. Christian Wood hits. He's a 20-10 guy that maybe plays better defense than you expect, that can play passable defense, and then all of a sudden, this team has something that it didn't have last year, like what Nico said. So it's fascinating to see these things and these two moves that are so different, but are also like the same in the essence of them, right? Like they're taking a swing on something, and if it works out really well, it could be huge for the Mavs.
What'd you think about his Brunson quotes?
Yeah, I want to get to this. The Knicks made a bunch of moves. They traded Jalen Duren basically to the Pistons. They got off of the Kemba Walker contract, and so the Knicks cleared about 18. They have $18 million in space now. They can clear more. The Alec Burks contract, the Nerlens Noel contract, Cam Reddish if they want to move him. And so the Knicks made all these moves, and all of a sudden they have some more cap space. It's not a secret that they're trying to get space to go after Jalen Brunson. And so someone asked Nico Harrison, what did you think about the Knicks, making some moves and creating cap space? And he said, until he tells us that he doesn't want to be here, we're optimistic. And then he said, we expected to see the Knicks do that. We expected that to happen. And so I thought it was interesting that he addressed it. I thought it was interesting what the Knicks did. The Mavs can still, at this point, even, at any point, the Mavs can still offer Jalen Brunson more. They can offer him more money, more years and all that if they go to the full max. But the Knicks thing is interesting. It's interesting to see what's going to happen, and I don't think anybody knows. We've had reports in both directions.
Yeah. I mean, he addressed that a couple different times. He even said, he's like, yeah, it's not, we were expecting the Knicks to do that. He said they tried to do it at the trade deadline too.
Yeah, right.
The Knicks are very confident in this pursuit. Okay. So, I mean, they basically just traded completely out of the draft today. They got a couple future firsts and stuff, but they're trading out of the draft. They lose that, they don't have to pay that first round pick money. They shed Kemba's, money and all of that. So it's going to get fun here in next week.
I thought it was interesting when Nico Harrison said, that the Knicks are as confident about getting Jalen Brunson as they were about getting Zion, or they were as confident about getting Kevin Durant, or about getting Kyrie Irving, or about getting.
That is not a quote from Nico
LeBron
Harrison.
James. Not a quote, asterisk, not a real Nico Harrison quote. So there you go. The Mavericks are now sitting, going into free agency and hoping to have
Dallas is going to get a seat at the table.
A seat at the table with some of these moves that they made. And hey, maybe Jaden Hardy turns into a really interesting young piece. He turns into a trade chip, and then that's all of a sudden another avenue they can take down the road.
And that's a roster spot too that they got in Jaden Hardy. So, you had or a two-way. If he doesn't, take a two-way, then if you count Hardy and Theo, now you basically have one open roster spot. So if you convert Jaden Hardy to a two-way, he's down for that. He's cool for that. You obviously still have your two open spots, assuming that Theo Pinson's getting one of those other.
Lots more to break down. We will be here 5 days a week on Locked On Mavs. We deliver. Even at 3 a.m., we deliver a podcast.
3:46 right now.
Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs. Go listen to Locked On NBA Big Board. Those guys did incredible work all night. There's a clip on YouTube. If you're listening on the podcast, there's a clip on YouTube of me and Richard Stayman and Leaf Tulane reacting to the Jaden Hardy news. Some good takes on that, so go check it out on YouTube. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.